Okay, imagine this. What if you could find a secret city, one that's been lost for thousands of years? Well, today, we're literally digging into the story of an incredible civilization from ancient India that did exactly that. It just vanished. And it left behind some of the most amazing mysteries just waiting for us to uncover. So, let's start with a question that sounds kind of crazy. What if I told you that an ancient city from way back, like 4,500 years ago, even before the Roman Empire, had better plumbing than some places do today? Seriously? We're talking fancy bathrooms and actual drains running under the streets? It sounds like something out of a movie, right? But it was totally real. Let's find out how. So, first things first, how did we even find out about this lost world? I mean, for thousands of years, these incredible cities were totally hidden from sight. But then, an amazing discovery brought their whole story back into the light. For a really long time, nobody had a clue these cities were even there. Then, about 100 years ago, some archaeologists started digging near a village called Harappa. First, they found a few old bricks, then a few more, and pretty soon they realized, whoa, this isn't just some small town. They had stumbled upon an entire lost civilization. And you know what? It wasn't just one city. This civilization, which we now call the Harappan civilization, was absolutely huge. I mean, look at this map. Every single one of those dots is a place where they lived. To put that in perspective, it was bigger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. It was just massive, spread all across the lands of the Indus and Sarasvati rivers. So you might be wondering, when was all this happening? Let's get our bearings. These cities were at their peak around 2600 BCE. That is more than 4,500 years ago. That's so long ago. It was right around the same time the Great Pyramids were being built in Egypt, and way, way, way before the Roman Empire was even a thing. Okay, so we keep using this word civilization. What does that even mean? Well, you can think of it like a checklist for a super advanced society. Did they have some kind of government with leaders and rules? Yup, check. Did they have awesome planned cities? You bet, check. Did they trade with other people? For sure, check. Did they have a secret code? I mean, a written language? Check. And did they have enough food to feed everybody? Double check. The Harappans? Yeah, they had it all. All right, let's zoom in on their cities, because this is where things get really, really cool. What was it that made these super cities so special? Just look at this layout. Their streets weren't all messy and tangled up. No, they were built in a perfect grid, kind of like a chessboard, with these wide, straight roads and perfect right-angle corners. It's so much like how our modern cities are planned. These people were absolutely brilliant engineers. And deep inside one of their biggest cities, Mohenjo-Daro, archaeologists found this. It's called the Great Bath. Basically, it's this giant, perfectly built, waterproofed brick pool. And the craziest part? It's super mysterious. Nobody is 100% sure what it was used for. So what do you think it was? A royal swimming pool for a king or queen? Maybe a special place for religious rituals? What we do know is that most people actually had their own private bathrooms, so it probably wasn't like a public swimming pool for everyone. It remains one of the biggest puzzles of the Harappan world. And speaking of those bathrooms, okay, this part is just mind-blowing. They had drains inside their houses that carried dirty water away into covered sewers that ran right under the main streets. They were so focused on hygiene and cleanliness, and they built a system to handle it that was literally centuries ahead of its time. Incredible. Their mastery over water was just amazing. In another city called Dolavira, which was in a pretty dry area, they built these enormous tanks, reservoirs, just to save rainwater. And the biggest one? It was 73 meters long. That is almost the length of a football field, built just to hold water. Seriously, how smart is that? Okay, we know the cities were incredible, but what about the people? What was daily life actually like? What would it be like to be a kid living in a Harappan city 4,500 years ago? Well, let's look at the clues they left for us. All right, first things first, food. What's for dinner? Well, by studying tiny little bits of food left on old pottery, scientists have figured out they ate stuff like barley and wheat, lentils and peas. They even used spices like turmeric and ginger. Oh, and get this, they were the very first people in that whole region to figure out how to grow cotton and make clothes from it. How cool is that? And these people were so talented. On one side, you can see this tiny little model of a plow they used for farming.
But then, on the other side, look at those beautiful beads. They're made from a reddish stone called carnelian. They were expert artists, and people from lands far, far away would trade all sorts of things just to get their hands on this amazing jewelry.
But life wasn't all about work and farming. They made cool stuff for daily life too, like this really fancy comb carved from ivory. And they for sure knew how to have fun. Archaeologists have found ancient board games and even dice. So yeah, after a long day, they could kick back and play a game with their family, just like we do. And we know they were huge traders because of places just like this one. At the city of Lothal, they built this absolutely massive dockyard for their boats. Now, when I say massive, I mean it was bigger than 2 football fields put together. Think of it like a giant, busy airport, but for ships, sending their amazing crafts out and bringing in treasures from all across the sea.
But for everything we do know, there are some giant mysteries about the Harappans that still have the experts totally stumped. So let's dive into the biggest puzzles of all.
Okay, check these out. Archaeologists have found thousands of these little stone stamps. They call them seals. Each one is tiny and it's carved with an incredible animal, like a bull or a rhino or... Wait a minute, is that a unicorn? And right above every animal, there's a line of these really strange symbols. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. What does the writing say? And the totally mind-blowing answer is, nobody knows. We have absolutely no idea. The Harappan writing is a secret code that no one on Earth has ever been able to crack. It is truly one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.
But believe it or not, there's an even bigger mystery. After 700 years of building these amazing cities, making incredible art, and trading with the known world, the people just left. Around 1900 BCE, those bustling streets just fell silent. The cities were abandoned. The question is, why? And where did everybody go?
Well, for a long time, the main theory was that maybe they were invaded, but there's just no evidence of a big war. Instead, the clues are now pointing to something else: climate change. It seems the weather patterns shifted. There was a lot less rain, and a massive river that they depended on, the Sarasvati River, it just dried up. And without water, you can't grow food. And without food, these great cities just couldn't survive. But here's the really important part. The people themselves didn't just vanish into thin air. They were survivors. They left the big cities behind and moved into smaller villages, learning to adapt to their new environment. And they carried their culture, their ideas, their skills, their stories with them. And all of that went on to influence the many cultures that came later in India. So the story of the Harappans is this amazing reminder that there are still so many secrets buried right under our feet, just waiting to be found. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As archaeologists keep digging and scientists keep exploring, what other amazing lost worlds are still out there, just waiting for us to discover them?